Hey everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner and I have a very special guest in the corner. Would you like to unveil your secret identity to the masses?
Oh, I'm Michael. Hi.
Also known as Bean.
Oh yeah, let's go with Bean.
Well, I like that it's after Mr. Bean because he's pretty hilarious, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, the name comes from. I used to look like him in fifth grade, and it's been a pretty long nickname.
Those are the best ones though, because then you get people that you knew in elementary or middle school or whatever that are like Bean. And you're like, oh my God, this person knows me, but I don't know from where.
Right, this is spanning decades at this point. That nickname.
I kind of know the feeling. I actually, when I was in elementary, I had people refer to me as Jackie Chan because my name's
Well,
Jack.
that's not bad either.
No, it's not bad at all. But when people
Compliment.
yell it at me, I'm kind of like, what? Who is Jackie Chan here? Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Like, did I miss it? Because it hasn't stuck with me in the years. But anyway, for the fans out there, so they know that this isn't a April Fool's prank, we invited you onto the show about your recent Kickstarter called Choice Chamber, which is a really fantastic looking game, in my opinion. I think the interactivity of it will be a lot of fun for the listeners out there. But do you want to tell them a little bit about the game and what pushed you to start making it?
Yeah. So Choice Chamber is a pretty straightforward, procedurally generated action game. Kind of has roguelike elements. That part's really familiar, but the fun part is that it integrates with Twitch on their website, twitch.tv. And so if you're streaming it, anyone can come in and watch you play live, and they can actually participate at the same time in the chat room by entering commands at different points, and they change how the game evolves in real time while you're trying to play through it.
And now, for a game like this, did you see the popularity of Twitch and you're like, I need to figure out a way to make the chat more involved? Or, did you just want to work on something that had a focus on interactivity?
Yeah, I think it's the former because I got pretty addicted to Twitch last year, and if you're familiar with how some of the casters play, like for their Let's Plays, they have this one rule called no backseat theming, and they just don't want you to give spoilers and kind of ruin the experience for everyone. Because if they're not challenged, then there's not really much of an entertaining watch. So I was a little frustrated at that because all these people, you're talking to the person who you're seeing on the screen, and they're talking back to the chat. But you can't like play a game together. You can only just discuss things and not even talk about the game itself. And so I wanted to find a way to fix that, or at least find some way to explore a way to connect the chat with the caster and play a game together.
Yeah, it seems the only way you can actually play with the person on the Twitch channels if they allow playing with subscribers or things like that. Like certain people like Day9 does stuff like that, like mono battles and things. Uh, but yeah, I can understand how there's kind of a disconnect there because you can't even talk about the game itself.
Right, and I just wanted to make sure that it would still be, playable, like a game that's scalable. Like you can have just you and one person viewing, and the two of you could play together, or you could be like a popular caster and have 10,000 people play at the same time, and all in the same game. And it needs to kind of adapt and scale to those, and so it's been really fun to design as well.
Yeah, that's the one thing that's really appealing for it for me as someone who streams. I don't stream regularly. I stream when I'm bored. And so maybe I have about four people at a time watching me, maybe that. And so when I do it, I would love to play a game like this, but I would get worried, well, people aren't inputting fast enough or there's not enough people who are putting anything in there. But I like that you've taken that into consideration for people who aren't popular on Twitch or what have you.
Oh yeah, I think I might not have gotten that message across clearly enough in the Kickstarter, mostly because the pitch video only has clips from larger personalities who had over 1,000 and 5,000 players at the same time, and so people might look at it and be interested, but think to themselves, I'm not very popular. I only have four people in my chat room, so I can't really have this type of fun. And that's just not true at all because if you think about it, the less people who are playing, the more of a an impact they have on the game individually. So they'll actually be a little bit more. incentivized to keep participating. Because if it's just one person playing in the chat room, that means they have total control over how the game changes, and they're not even arguing with anyone.
And the nice thing too is you get more of a connection with somebody because, if you really don't like that person because they're trying to make it super hard for you, you could just ban them, which
Absolutely.
might be the worst case scenario. But, if you have friends playing with you, they could give you something nice one time and then take it away, which sounds like my friends, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty fun to watch people play the game because they make sure that you stay alive as long as possible. Like that's their number one concern. They want to make sure you never get a game over, but at the same time, they want you to go through as much pain at the same time. And so, really, they're just making it entertaining for them to watch, and they're just putting you through the loop. So it's an ebb and flow of giving and taking, but it's kind of fun to watch it happen over the course of a few play sessions.
Yeah, I think that was really interesting because I believe you were about, I would say, like 4 hours or so into streaming when I found that you were doing a 48 streaming session. Apparently, you even had it on while you were sleeping, so that must have been a little bit awkward to wake up and be like, "Hey guys, what's up?"
Yeah, they were like waiting for me too. I told them what time I would wake up, and I was like 10 minutes late, and they're all just flooding the chat like, "Where is he?
He went missing.
Did
He
he
was
blow us
kidnapped.
off?"
That's actually really interesting to me. That the people would be like, he didn't wake up on time. I almost wish somebody made like a Twitch chat alarm now. That would be amazing.
I wouldn't want that. No, I wanted my sleep.
But they were making you do horrible things like eat lemon cakes, things like
Oh, that
that.
was all me.
Oh, okay.
I gave them the choice of what would be done, and I kept it within the limits of comfortability.
But when I watched you play the game, unfortunately, at the time, I believe it's still in an alpha or beta, and it crashed. And then you started and replayed it again, and the changes that were in the two playthroughs were pretty paramount. Initially they gave you pogo, and then everybody gave you, I believe, double jump. So, and it changed the game drastically.
Yeah, it's actually pretty fun because at first people don't know what things are. Like when they're voting on them, like they'll see the word pogo and they're like, "Well, that's that. I have to try that." So everyone always tries pogo first, and it's the worst one. But that's why it's so fun because they'll see pogo and then they'll see the reaction of the person playing. They're like, "Oh, we've made him so angry. Let's just keep picking pogo every time." And then they realize pogo's not that great, so they'll change their minds and try something else. And eventually they'll want to just pick every single thing and every option just to see what they all are. So then you get a lot of variety. And then after that, of course, they know everything, so they'll start making strategies. And so yeah, it's really fun to watch their knowledge of the game expand and then hone in on a certain path each time.
I think what was interesting for me is I kept making enemies tiny, and then I realized that that seemed to make a lot of the flying enemies, which seemed really difficult to hit for whatever reason. And so then I
Yeah,
changed my mind.
yeah. The bats were added solely because the other two guys are too easy to run away from and just hit. So I was like, I need a way for you to like have to move out of your spot because before you could just like stand at the door and just whack away with your hammer. And so I was like, let's have something above you that's shooting down, and then you have to move out of the way. So if there's a lot of bats, you definitely need to keep on your toes the whole time.
Well, what other difficulties have you encountered while developing or changes that you've made just to make the game more intriguing to the player?
I think my number one enemy is the delay on Twitch, which everyone is aware of. Even if you're not playing this type of game, the delay is pretty bad. I mean, it's at least 20 seconds, and it only gets worse from there. Some people are over a minute delayed. So if you're trying to have a conversation with the person who's casting, you have to wait 20 seconds for them to respond, and they have to wait 20 seconds for you to respond. So that's pretty frustrating. And for a game where you need to give inputs in a certain amount of time, how long does that poll need to be open before you're guaranteed that everyone has seen it? And so I have the poll open for 60 seconds, so that should be enough time, right? And then sometimes people are still voting after the poll ends. So I've been tweaking that. Like the poll used to be 30 seconds, which the delay used to only be about 4 or 5 seconds up until a few months ago. And then Twitch changed their servers around to accommodate PS4 and Xbox One streaming as well. And now I think they just debuted mobile streaming last week or this week, so you can like stream from your phone, and it uses the front-facing camera to capture your face. But anyway, they put this delay in to make sure that everyone gets the content promptly. Uh, and so yeah, it's been an issue, but I've been tweaking everything along the whole way. So now it's a lot more manageable because now there's three polls that go on at the same time, and so they can be longer, but you'll still get them roughly at the same rate as they used to be when it was just one at a time. So little stuff like that. Yeah, the delay is the biggest problem. The
Well,
fun part is designing all the stuff around it.
well, what's interesting is that the delay didn't exist. What was it, like 6 months ago, I'd say?
Even in December, it was not there.
Yeah, and it's been kind of obnoxious for me too because I look at my Twitch stream through Trillion through the IRC client. I don't actually have the Twitch chat up when I
Right.
play. So for me, I already get it kind of like the chat on a delay. And so now there's even a bigger delay and it's really frustrating because it's like, oh, you had one viewer say hi to you and they left like, 2 minutes ago and you're just now saying hi.
Yeah, and it's only on Twitch, I think. I mean, all the other streaming sites, they have a smaller delay, but then again, they're nowhere near as viewed as Twitch. Twitch came out with their annual report of everything,
Mhm.
and they have 45 million active accounts watching each month, and 1 million of them stream at least once a month, which is just ridiculous. So it kind of makes sense when you think about those numbers.
It does, but at the same time, are you possibly looking at other streaming websites to eventually include in Choice Chamber, or is your focus primarily Twitch?
My focus is on Twitch because that's where everyone is. But since I'm just interfacing through the IRC channel, it's possible to expand later on. I haven't looked into that. So for right now, I'm just focusing on Twitch.
All right, well, maybe in the future, you never know. It depends obviously on how much support you guys are, and you're currently at about 7,300 or so of your 30,000 goal on Kickstarter with
Yep.
19 days to go, which is very exciting.
Yep, just over 3 weeks and almost 25% funded. So long way to go, but we have some kind of momentum going in at least.
What was the reaction, what you guys expected?
Probably a little bit less than what we expected, just because this idea is really exciting to people, but I don't think we made it very clear that this is a game for everyone, as I was saying. Like, you don't even need Twitch to play this game. Like if you're the type of person who like would want to play something like this, but maybe you're too shy to go on Twitch, or you just don't even care about it and you don't stream at all, you can still play the game offline. You don't even need an internet connection. And so, I mean, that was called out a bunch of times throughout the Kickstarter page, but I guess we learned the hard way that no one reads the Kickstarter page. They kind of just watch the video and then make their decision at that point without scrolling down. And so that video, as I said before, it doesn't tell you that you can play offline or that you can play with only a couple people and still have fun. So that was kind of our bad foresight going in, and so I feel like we've missed out on a lot of uh, possible backers there.
Well, the nice thing is that obviously there's this trend of, Twitch plays Pokemon, which I'm sure nobody could have predicted. So it's kind of interesting that this Kickstarter is launched kind of amidst that whole thing.
Yeah, because I was working on it since December, and I had done a few test streams of it in January, and then Twitch Plays Pokemon came out around Valentine's Day, and and so that was kind of an interesting feeling for me just watching this thing that was kind of the same idea of what I was trying to do. Just explode and had like 33 million views in the first week, and then of course crashed Twitch's chat server. I just found out yesterday that Twitch Plays Pokemon is on its own private channel now,
Oh, wow.
and then the rest of Twitch is on its own like it was before. But they gave a special one just for Twitch Plays Pokemon.
I did not know that. That's pretty insane. I checked it out, I think, when it launched. We weren't very far. I know that I love though that the whole thing has become we. We weren't very far. I'm not even a Pokemon player anymore. My last one was yellow. But you
Well,
know,
we're all in it together, I guess.
yeah, I guess so. But I checked it out when it was just beginning, and the amount of people that were just typing in random things and trying to organize was pretty hilarious because nobody could organize anything. And now I guess there's like stat sites and things for it. So you can, work with other people to try and get to certain areas. It's really intriguing.
Yeah, and they have Yeah, those stats websites they track to find out who's a bot and which one is purposely trolling. Because you can find the ones that just keep pausing the game over and over, and the ones that keep doing the opposite of what everyone wants to do.
Well, on the plus side, hopefully that will, help the audience, want to support your game because I feel, trying something unique and new versus going back to old classics is kind of detrimental sometimes to the gaming world. So I hope that more people are responsive to it.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to get someone excited about something that they really can't compare against. And right now, there's just Twitch plays Pokemon, which might seem sour in some people's eyes if they have to like pay money for something that they feel is going to be very chaotic and unplayable.
Well, watching you play, some of the later levels got quite chaotic. In fact, I was surprised that there were so many levels. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see the boss, so I'm not actually sure how many rooms there are.
Uh, yeah, there's infinite rooms just for now. This is the prototype. It goes on forever. It just gets harder each room. Like the room is more sporadically laid out, so there's lots of pits and bumps and things like that. And then there's more fire and stuff. And then of course there's just more enemies at a time. The enemies themselves don't get harder. There's just more of them. And yeah, so it goes forever. Someone just got a new record yesterday, I think, with 101 rooms,
Wow.
which I don't know how long that would have taken them, maybe an hour or so, maybe 45 minutes. And you weren't supposed to play that long. It was just supposed to be like a 20-minute thing where you just get to the boss and then you're supposed to die soon thereafter. And then I guess the chat has now learned the optimal strategies, and they're just giving out the best loot and power ups and holding back the enemies a certain way so that the person playing can get as far as possible. So yeah, room 101. But this is just a prototype. I mean, this is only maybe 5% of what I've been thinking about for this game. There's lots of other things to do um, in the expanded game, which is what this Kickstarter's for in the first place.
Well, before we talk a little bit about what you're hoping to do with the game in the Kickstarter, we're going to go to a short break here on 91.8 The Fan, so don't go anywhere because our special guest isn't. Hey, everybody out there! You're still tuned in to 91.8 The Fan, and that is not an April Fool's joke, and our special guest is still here, alive and breathing. At least we hope so.
Oh yeah, all good over here.
Okay, awesome. We wanted to make sure that you didn't, suffocate from a lemon cake.
Oh, my dog finished it off. I was really upset.
Really?
Yeah, he learned how to jump on the desk, and he just stole everything that he shouldn't have.
Is it a little dog or is it a bigger dog?
He's medium sized. He's like 20 some pounds.
Okay, and then he just jumped up there. This is great. I can't,
Yeah, and he ate a lot of chocolate too. So
oh, that's not good.
don't worry, it's all out of him at this point. He's now good.
Okay, as long as he's okay, because chocolate never usually sits very well with
Right,
some
it tends to kill
animals.
dogs, but you'd be
Yeah.
surprised how much is required. I just thought it was like any chocolate, and you have to like go to the hospital. But it actually takes a lot. It would take an entire like chocolate Easter bunny, like the big ones. That's when you should start worrying. Like they can have a whole like Hershey bar, and they'll just have like a stomach ache.
Yeah, I don't want to
Not
test
that you
that
should
out.
feed them, chocolate ever. But I'm just saying you don't have to worry because he ate just a few chocolate cookies, and I was
Well,
like, eh, he'll be all right.
hey, it's fine. I mean, I have a cat and she's fairly old. She's about 11 now. And those really nice sugar cookies that have the frosting and the sprinkles on them that you can get in like a pack of like 6 or 8 or whatever. Whenever I open that box, she runs over to me. I don't know why. She doesn't like the frosting, she doesn't like the sprinkles. She just wants the cookie. I don't get it.
Is it the sound of the package opening?
Maybe it's just like she always bothers me for it. It's always been really super surprising. But you give her a piece, and then she never stops bugging you. So, whoopsie. Anyway, for the listeners out there, we took a short break just so we could catch up on what you're planning to do for the game when it gets funded. I'm assuming that we're going to see a lot more choices because right now a lot of the choices have to do with room size and enemy size and some of the power ups you get.
Yeah. Right now it's just rudimentary, just easy stuff, just getting power ups, changing the monsters. And so, other than just adding more polls in general, there's going to be new and fun ways to interact with what's going on in the game. Because let's be honest, polls are they run dry pretty quickly. You know, you're taking any number of people in the chat and merging them all into one vote, like just a popular vote. And so that's pretty silencing, and it doesn't really individualize the players. And so I'm thinking mostly about boss battles, like having each one be a very unique way of kind of connecting everyone together in a different way that hasn't been done earlier in the game. So, for example, let's say there's a big screen filling boss, and everyone in the chat is equipped with some type of shooting apparatus. Let's call it a gun. But they can like enter screen coordinates, and then they can all band together and shoot on different areas of the screen. And for that specifically, of course, there's still the Twitch delay problem. But that'd be really fun, being able to see all these different crosshairs appear on the screen and try and fight the boss. And maybe they can hold him down, and so he reveals his weak point, and then the person actually playing can come in and deliver the final strike. And so that's one idea. And then maybe there would be like even similar to that, they can all control one type of crosshair just on the crosshair idea. Like maybe it moves like a Ouija board where everyone kind of says where it moves on the screen, and then it's up to the player to kind of pull the switch for when it fires. So there's all that's a small thing. Outside of bosses, maybe there's a big cliff that you can't jump after, and so everyone in the chat needs to say a word like bridge, and then their speech bubble appears, and then the speech bubbles themselves are platforms, so you can literally jump on their words to get across, and maybe that can just take you to secret areas that you wouldn't be able to get to before. Um, the chat could also spawn their own little helper buddies to fight alongside you, and you can kind of maybe build up an army once you have enough people or chances to kind of build up these creatures that fight alongside you. So this could be a really fun war that goes on because there can be hundreds or thousands of people watching who want to kind of band together and fight against a greater evil. So it's all very exciting, and that's just kind of the beginning of the ideas of what's going to happen with the bigger game.
It sounds exciting and hectic, and I think we got a little bit of taste of that when we saw Gizmo, for example. So it'd be nice to see, a horde of gizmos flying across the screen.
Oh yeah, it's really fun when you get a bunch because they all just go their separate ways and just take care of everything on the screen.
Well, they seem to have a certain amount of health too, if from what I could tell.
They're actually invincible.
Oh, really? I was
Yeah.
kind of expecting the monsters to be able to attack them too, but that works as well.
Well, the way I dealt with that is that later on, once you have a gizmo, there's a vote for if you want to trade it in for something else. And the vote is very cryptic. You're only trading it in for three things known as wisdom, power, and courage. And it's not really clear what those things are. But if the chat is curious enough, they'll vote for it. You can also vote to just keep the gizmo as well. And so when they vote for power, they get more strength with the gizmos gone. If they vote for courage, they get more critical hits or a chance for it. And wisdom is the one I like the most because all it is a little piece of trivia about the game to let you know a little bit more about it.
I think that's amazing. I would love to see more, as someone who's a fan of the project, see more sort of, I guess, trick kind of ones like that, like wisdom. That would, to me, I think, be really, because you're not just tricking the player, you're also tricking the chat. So the chat is like, oh God, I made a horrible decision.
Yeah, I mean the first time playing is the best, of course. That's when no one knows what Pogo is, and they're just let's just pick it and see what happens. And it's really rewarding for things like that. One very interesting thing that happened was that how you get whatever the chat votes on, it comes in the form of a treasure chest, and you open the treasure chest, and it tells you what thing you got and what stats uh, happened, like which percentage of voters picked it. So you can just jump over that treasure chest and then not get whatever's inside of it,
Oh
which
wow.
isn't it's not immediately apparent, but someone who was playing knew that it was going to be a warp to go 20 rooms ahead, and he didn't want to do that because he wanted to fight the boss, and he would have just skipped past the boss if he warped 20. So knowing that, he just jumped over the treasure chest, and then he just kept going, and that infuriated the chat. They felt so betrayed. I mean, and they have every right to. Their vote was thrown away, no matter what they voted for. So for the rest of that game, they gave him the worst choices possible, and I felt pretty bad. I was like, "Oh, there's a flaw in the system. Like everything's falling apart now that he knows he can jump over the treasure chest." Um, and then the other designer on the game, Chelsea, was telling me, "This is actually the greatest thing ever. You got the entire chat to be pissed off, but none of them left. They all stayed and they kept playing, like in an angry state. So that's actually a good reaction."
I do think
And
it's really interesting to be honest, because it gives the because I think as we said earlier, the players kind of want or the chat wants the player to succeed. So to see the chat essentially want to kill off the player, I think is like just desserts. I kind of love it.
yeah, and then it becomes a competitive game, not a co-op game. So now it's one person trying to just go against the odds about what the chat's throwing at him. So that was really fun to watch. And then I ended up just leaving that in, being able to jump the chest, as it's now known, just because there's a natural penalty built in, which is that the chat turns against you.
Well, now one of the interesting things that's mentioned under the finished game on the Kickstarter is additional characters. And I feel like that's a little bit vague because, you have all these choices. So are the character like this might be speaking too far ahead, of course, but is your plan to have the characters have different strengths or will they just look different?
It'll be both. The main character was at first supposed to be androgynous, and I guess his design. Now that I'm saying his, we sometimes say he or she or her, but the character's design changed a little bit throughout, and so now I guess the haircut is a little too masculine, kind of the mohawk thing going. Although women can rock it just as well. But he is just wearing like a ripped poncho type thing, so sometimes you see his whole chest. So we're like, let's not go into that territory. So we're gonna have at least a female character added and some more surprises, throughout. But their abilities would be different, not just all kind of the same thing with a different skin. And there'll be minor tweaks, like maybe they can have extra power, or they can move a little bit faster, or maybe they start with a double jump so they can even get a triple jump later on once that vote comes in. So they're just minor ways to kind of switch it up to have different types of playthroughs once you start getting a feel for who you like best.
Well, I think that's really neat, so I'm looking forward to see how that develops. But for the listeners out there who would like to pledge to the Kickstarter, what do you think are some of the best pledge choices they can go? And obviously, 2000 is great because it gives you a lot of money, but in terms of, what they get back and supporting you guys and things like that.
Yeah, I'd have to say the best one is the beta. I guess that one is the $25 tier, because that'll give you access to play the game as it's still in progress. And I need to like test things out before I just release it, because a lot of, if not all of the things that are going into the game haven't ever been done before, at least on this scale. And so that'd be really fun. So throughout the game's development, you can play the beta, but of course that tier also includes the prototype, which is currently floating around. So you can play that immediately after the Kickstarter is funded. And then, of course, you also get the finished game when it's out, and you get a full soundtrack with liner notes, your name in the credits as well. So that one's pretty good. That's one of the most popular ones right now. And one of them sold out twice now, which is the $50 one. And on top of all the stuff I listed, you also get an art book PDF with a bunch of sketches and notes and stuff. And the big thing with the $50 tier is that you get to design a poll that goes into the game. And I left it very open. That's the whole description. You design a poll, something to ask everyone that changes something about the game. And I had a limit on it, and then those sold out, and so I doubled that, and then that sold out again. So I'm going to add some more to that pretty soon. So that one's going pretty well as well. So I guess those two are kind of the most popular.
Very cool. I think what's really nice with you guys with having the prototype out and about, some people are streaming it, and I would assume that people are allowed to stream the beta a little bit.
Oh, when that's out, yeah, they'll be allowed to do that because I need them to test it with their audiences.
Well, I think that's really fun for everybody because everybody gets to see how the game grows, and maybe you'll do a slacker backer program too, and then that way people see it and they miss the Kickstarter and they can still throw money at you.
Yeah, I realized after the Kickstarter launch that a lot of people can't or don't want to use Kickstarter because of the payment method. And I don't know, I never heard about it before, and I have like friends who've had Kickstarters, and I've been following the big ones. And I've never heard this problem, but apparently a lot of people are either don't have credit cards. Some of them might just be too young to have credit cards in general. But some are from countries where credit cards aren't common, and if you have one, you're kind of frowned upon, or it's just not good for credit in general. Like I know Germany is not big on credit cards, so they are not big contributors to Kickstarters in general. So a Slacker backer thing is nice because then you can open up other avenues like PayPal, which is what everyone would prefer. But they just, of course, are not supported in Kickstarter because that's their direct competitor to Amazon payments.
Right. I remember, I think it was when Kickstarter first launched, our Canadian on staff couldn't really donate to anything. In fact, I believe I had to be the one to kickstart the new Mega Man game for
Mighty
him.
9.
Yes, I'm pretty sure I had to do it for him because he couldn't do it for whatever reason, whether it was Amazon payments wouldn't work with CA or what have you. But I believe that's on my account and everything's being sent to him. So
Yeah, I know there's international Kickstarter. Like the Kickstarters were made in another country, and they have to have someone in America start the campaign for them under their own business, and then they kind of just pass the funds around when it's time.
that sounds like a lot of fun as a business owner. I'm
And a lot
just
of
saying.
trust as well.
Yeah, that's oh gosh, I that could backfire and then it would be the biggest game story anywhere.
But suddenly your best friend's phone number doesn't work anymore.
Oh gosh, I don't
Starts
even want
running
to
away
think
with all
about
your
it.
money.
Oh, that would be so sad to break that news. I
To
don't
all the
even want to
fans as
think
well,
of
you
it.
have to tell them that the person who was handling the account just ran away.
Oh God, it hurts. Get the FBI involved, please.
Oh, there's no legal problem with that.
I know,
It's the
I
best part
know.
about Kickstarter. You can do whatever you want, and you'll only get people really upset with you, but they can't do anything about it. At least not legally. They can do physical things to you, but not legal stuff.
I don't think we want them to do physical things to anybody. That might
Well, they
actually,
shouldn't, but whenever someone runs away with a lot of money, there's always a big mob with pitchforks that forms. Like that guy who stole from the Eve Online bank.
ah, yes, I do remember that story.
Yeah, that was like 300,000 US dollars that he's like, hey, look, I can just hit withdrawal. So he did it and just left.
That's gaming is interesting, folks. But for those of you out there who do want to support the Kickstarter, the cool thing that I love that you guys did this, and I wish more people did this. You can just go to choicechamber.com and it directs you to the Kickstarter.
Yeah, I wanted to make it easy for people to remember, and so hey, let's just make it the name of the game.com. And actually, looking at the number of backers who came in, most of them went to choicechamber.com to get to it. So it's actually working, so that's good.
Yeah, I still go to choicechamber.com instead of going onto Kickstarter and looking for it. It's just so much easier.
Yeah, so the interesting thing is, I have my numbers up right now. ChoiceChamber.com has like 24% of all of the pledges, which is awesome. And then Twitter's in second place. That's just a bunch of retweets. But then third place, which is interesting, that's Twitch TV, with almost 10% of all the backers, which means that people are just playing it and linking it in the chat room, and people are clicking from there, which is, I don't know, I'm impressed by that because usually, the chat is kind of just throwing links all the time, and so it's interesting because this is like the market I'm going for, everyone on Twitch, and it's exciting to see that they're engaging from the website and coming straight to the Kickstarter from there.
That's really neat. So it seems like you're hitting the right audience.
Well, it's my only audience at the moment. They're the ones who it's made for. They're the ones who would care the most about it, which is why I've been giving it out to so many people so they can tell their communities and have them spread the word as well.
Hey, but it is offline too.
There is an offline mode. That is right. Anyone can play the game. You don't even need the internet aside from downloading it first.
Well, you could deliver, flash drives, but I don't think that would be cost effective.
No, I purposely left out physical tiers rewards from the Kickstarter just to save myself time, money, and energy.
And I think that is a very smart thing to do, to be honest with you. But for the listeners out there who want to keep up to date with the project, obviously they can check it out on Kickstarter and check out the updates. But do you guys have a Twitter and a Facebook? Any other social media?
Yeah, I use my Twitter pretty often for promoting this kind of stuff. And my Twitter is one Mr. Bean, ONEMRBEAN.
And your Facebook is also listed on the Kickstarter, but I'm pretty sure that might be a personal one.
Oh, I linked, yeah, my account with that's actually my Facebook picture on the Kickstarter page. So they just ripped that straight from my Facebook profile. I don't use Facebook too much to promote anything, just keeping up with old connections and stuff.
Well, I think that's very smart because, as far as I'm concerned, Twitter is the way to go. And Tumblr if you're feeling very adventurous and can get past all the porn.
Yeah, I do have a Tumblr, but I think there's one post, so that one didn't happen too much. I wanted to do this thing where I would watch these old movies that inspired me and then make little animated GIFs for them, just to keep my animation skills fresh. Because if you program too long, you start to forget the good stuff. And so I made one animated GIF, and then it was really fun. It took a month to do, and it's only like 12 seconds. And it was for Alien, by the way, 1979 version.
Ah,
And
very nice.
I just saw it for the first time last year. It took me a while, I guess, to get around to it. And it just blew me away. And I went to go see it again when they re-released it in theaters for a day in the summer. They did those AMC classics or whatever. So that was amazing, and that was what inspired me to start the whole Tumblr thing. So I drew that, and then 1 month of work, I was like, wow, I'm really satisfied that I finished this thing. And so then I didn't want to do it again. So at least I got it out of my system, I guess. Um, yeah, so the Tumblr just has one thing posted.
Well, fair enough. So we'll keep track on Twitter and the
Just the
Kickstarter
Twitter.
page. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for the listeners out there, we have a 91.8 The Fan tradition, and we're wondering if you'd be willing to participate in it.
Do I have to agree now before I know what it is?
I can tell you what it is. We basically ask if you'd be willing to do a bump for us. We ask voice actors and we ask not voice actors for it. Basically, you have to say a line, but if you mess up, everybody hears it.
Oh, cool. How many tries do I get?
As many as you want.
All right, let's go for one try. I think I
All
can do
right.
this.
All right, let's see if we can do it. We basically ask if you could say, "Hello, my name is," you insert your name. "I do this," and you can put whatever you want there. You're a game designer, you work on Choice Chamber, whatever you want. And you're tuned into 91.8, The Fan.
That's simple enough. I can do that.
All right, well, whenever you're ready.
All right, ready? Okay, here we go. All right. So he starts off with, "Hi, my name is Mike." All right, hold on. Let me just one drink of water. I got this. Hello, I'm Michael Molinari, indie game developer famous for games like Sound Dodger, currently working on Choice Chamber, and you are tuned in to 91.8 The Fan.
Very close, but we're going to ask if you can do actually a pickup on the last line. If you could just say, "You are tuned into 91.8, The Fan."
Oh, I missed the point.
Oh, some people do. It's okay. So
Oh,
if you
I
could just
missed the
say
point completely.
if you could just say that last part really quick, we will edit it together with
Okay.
audio magic.
Yep. And you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan.
See, there you go. That's perfect.
Missed the point.
I
So
think
that's like 1.5 takes?
one. Yeah, that is kind of 1.5 takes. But
So it's
hey,
not 2, so I did 1.
that is better than half of the voice actors we have on the website.
Oh, good. Well, I don't do any voice acting, so maybe that's why. There's no pressure on me.
Well, maybe you should get into it. You got a good voice for it.
Oh, thank you.
But is there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners out there? Anything about your project? Any words of wisdom, dating advice, anything like that?
Dating advice. Oh, dating advice, definitely. Here we go. So make sure that whatever you do, you be yourself. That is first and foremost the most important thing. Because if people get turned off by someone who you are not, then you'll never know how they would have reacted to who you really are. And if they react negatively to how you really are, then that means you got to just change who you are. Simple enough. There's dating advice right there.
That was really good dating advice, actually. I'm pleasantly surprised because
It works pretty well.
most people throw out dating advice and they're like, "Don't do drugs." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine, but that's not really dating advice."
Yeah, that has little to do with it, unless you and your partner are into the same drugs. But let's not go down that path.
But no, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you for having me.
And for any of the listeners out there that missed any of this interview, don't fret. You can find it on the website at 918thefan.com. And you can find the interview, if as long as you keep listening to the radio, you'll hear more interviews. That's the cool thing about 91.8 The Fan. So keep it tuned to your favorite station where we play everything you want and nothing you don't. Also, make sure to visit choicechamber.com.